Just as a reminder, if you like the content, please like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darnell. Some of you know me as the Wakanda RN. I have a special guest with me today. I have Miss Amanda Shatwell. All right, we have a lot in store for you guys today. So starting out, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So I read a little bit about you. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So you're a former EMT. You've been an RN in the emergency department.
Mm-hmm.
You're currently an LPN coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
You've been an RN clinical instructor. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You got your master's in physiology, educational psychology.
Yes.
Thank you. From OU. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you got your master's elsewhere as well.
Yes, in nursing education.
Nursing education.
Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent. So, just starting out, what's your favorite nursing specialty and why?
Well, obviously the ER.
Okay.
I honestly didn't explore outside of ER that much, just because my background was in EMT, and you're in the ER. Like, those are your people, and you connect with it. And I went from the same in the hospital, the same service that I worked on the ambulance for. I went over to their emergency room, and it was just a natural fit. I did a little bit of a stint in the ICU, but
interesting.
ER was my spot.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the ICU? What about it? You was kind of like, I'm not really sure about that. Like, what was it about the ICU for you personally?
I mean, really, and this isn't any discredit to the people that I worked out with. It was just, there's a vibe.
True.
Right? Like, there's just the people that you work with that, and really the pace. Like, I like to be able to have a problem,
yes,
fix it, and then move on to the next thing.
Right.
Have a problem, fix it, move on to the next thing. That doesn't happen in the ICU. I mean, there's problems that come up, but it's the same patient. And I think it's just because I spent so much time in that mode in EMS to, like, on to the next person and moving them on, that, like, having that same patient, okay, I'm ready for you to be fixed now and move forward. So that was that. And it was also really hard too, because in the ER, you get ICU holds.
You do.
And you have to be an ICU nurse and an ER nurse.
Yes.
And that was so difficult.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Okay. So currently you are a program director.
Mm-hmm. Program coordinator.
Coordinator.
In the world of career tech, they call it director, but here we call it coordinator.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what's the difference between, is there any difference between those two? Or
director and yes. For Southern Tech, I can talk about Southern Tech. Okay. At Southern Tech, program directors, it's just a different level. They have they're over multiple programs typically, and for the coordinator, you have one. It's just a smaller group of people, and it's more specific. So I am just over our adult LPN program.
Okay.
Rather than, like, all of health. Okay.
And you've been in that role for how many years now?
I'm starting 2022, so I'm starting my third year.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So each year, is it getting easier?
Don't say more easier.
I have to throw it out. I have to throw it out there.
Yeah, no. It's, I mean, you start to find a rhythm.
Right.
Like, this is probably the first time that I felt like, okay, so we're just going to copy and paste last year, well, on certain things. But that's whenever you want to do well, whenever you want to do a good job, typically it's not going to be the same, because at the end of every school year, we all get together and go, okay, what worked, what didn't, what are we going to change? And so no 2 years are the same, but it is, I'm kind of starting to find a groove. So
starting to find a groove. That is very important. So I saw on the Southern Tech website, 95% pass rate, first time pass rate.
For our last year's cohort, yes, 95%. But so far, for the class that just graduated, we're sitting at 100%. So, and we have 3 students left to take. I'm very confident in their abilities, but so far we're sitting at 100%. So
how does that make you feel?
Really good. You never know. Like, you do everything that you can for the students, everything you possibly can, but it's, it's up to them. Right. You send them off. And it's their thing, and you just hope you did everything that you possibly could. And but yeah, we recently changed our curriculum too, so it helps us kind of validate, okay, those changes that we made, it's working.
Okay.
So
Validate the changes. I would assume they would take a great team to make that happen.
Oh yeah. This wasn't me. It was not me. I just try to keep it all together. It's definitely the team. Our instructors are amazing.
Okay. That's awesome, man. I'm happy to be a part of this as well. I mean, of course, I'm looking from a distance. I'm part of a different department, but it's still kind of the same.
Oh, yeah.
You know, full-time health compared to short-term health.
And it all feeds each other.
Yes. So that itself is pretty awesome. So is there any challenges that you face being a coordinator, so to speak, rather than a program director? Like, do you face, like, do the challenges kind of vary year by year, or is it kind of consistent? Like, you know, like, oh, I face the same challenges throughout.
Well, like, we definitely see patterns, and we try not to like knee-jerk react to things that, like, oh, this is a problem. Well, that might just be for that group. Right. And so we try to track and trend and see, and like, if we're seeing that being a consistent pattern, then okay, this is something that's a thing. Because each cohort is so different. The personalities, they each have their own thing. And so you try, but like, for example, one thing that we really started to see was a trend was we used to track attendance weekly, right? And so if a student, like, most of our students are working mothers, if not working single mothers. And so all it takes is the flu to come through, and one kid's got it, then the next kid's got it, then the caretaker's got it. And we're a hybrid program, so they really, they have to come in here and they have to clock in hours. That's a hit, and that's a hard hit for them to make up for. And so I started to see a problem, and not just missing the hours, but the stress of it. And so we made a shift in our attendance policy. They're still accountable for the same amount of hours, but we're more flexible. They get to accumulate those hours rather than it just be weekly. It gets to build up. And so that allows them to be able to have a bad week. It's okay. But they have to know, when I'm having a good week, I need to take advantage of it. Yes. Right. And so, and they learn that, and they're still, still have ones that have their struggles, but it's definitely better. And we've got a lot of really good feedback on it. So that's an example of like something that we would see a problem and adjust.
I like that. You said hybrid program. So for some people who may not understand what you mean by that, can you expound on that?
So our students don't come in. So a traditional format would be that they come in Monday through Friday. They've got lecture, and they sit through lecture, and then they take a test. Our students, they have one review session. It's not a lecture, it's a review session. All of our content is available to them online. And so the idea is that they do some studying, and then they have kind of a check-in with us, their review session. And our review sessions, there's a little bit of traditional, like they'll do a PowerPoint or whatever, but most of it is activities. It's like taking that stuff that you learned. Okay, now we're going to apply it and do something with it to make sure it's sticking and to make sure you're on track where you need to be. And that's once a week. And then on Friday they test. Now in between that, and I said they accumulate hours. They come in and they clock in, and this is their study space. Right. So they're clocking in to study. Outside of that review session, they've got this library. They've got a couple classrooms they can go into. We kind of help them organize some study groups and teach them academic skills, like effective ways to study, and they implement that while they're here. And so we do have, they're going through the program at the same time, but half of it's online, and there's some of it that's in person. It's enough flexibility because we found over time that students, they need a lot of flexibility because they have to work and they've got kids, especially our clientele. Yes. But when you let it too free, you don't do it. I mean, and one of the things that I studied whenever I was in school was specifically online learning. And the rate of passing of like Course RA and all these things, that you sign up for, nobody finishes those. Like the pass rate is abysmal. Like it's because you need that accountability. You do. And so how do we give them accountability with flexibility? And the other thing is we saw that they didn't understand that. Like they came in, great, this is flexible, this is great. Right. But they expected the same, like Monday through Friday lecture kind of thing. So we really had to do a lot of work to teach them how to learn in that environment. Okay. It's kind of funny because like when I went to LPN school,
I went to a career tech that we were traditional. It was Monday through Friday. There was no flexibility.
Right.
It wasn't anything. And it was an 11-month program, and we went all the way straight through. And so I can imagine, especially, and that was like 11 years ago, 11 years ago for my younger audience. And looking back now, like seeing how, you know, kind of where we are economy wise, and I would think there's more single mothers now than it was back then. And so programs like this, I think, kind of more so meet today's needs, more so than the traditional route. Not saying that the traditional route,
right? Some people need that too, and they want that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I went, I was I was young. I didn't have no kids. I was single, and so like I could commit myself for the whole 11 months. But you know, of course, I know people who had full-time families, and it was more of a struggle for them because it was the traditional route, no flexibility, no anything.
Right. I think this allows a whole new group of people that wouldn't otherwise have been able to.
So it felt like I just feel like it kind of meets today's needs more.
That's what we're trying to do.
Like, you say
that's the first step is a task analysis and like, okay, what are we trying to do? And who are our people?
Yes.
And what are their struggles and what are their strengths and how can we make this work? Because our community needs nurses.
Yes. And so we do.
So you find those friction points and you just try to smooth them out the best you can.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting. So what are some things that influence you to get into nursing?
Into nursing in the first place?
Just in the first place. Like how did you get influenced coming to nursing?
Because I needed a job.
Okay.
And I knew the kind of lifestyle I wanted. I knew what I wanted to be able to provide for my family. And I knew about what that was going to cost. Right. And I knew what I needed to make. But I also thought, okay, what's the job that's going to be the most secure? Like whenever the poo hits the fan in society, what's the job that's still going to be needed?
Right.
I was a personal trainer at the time whenever I was trying to decide these things. And that was my fear on personal training was like, well, what happens whenever things go south? Because for whatever reason, I felt like that was going to happen.
Okay.
And so I wanted something that no matter what, and nursing was the perfect fit. And I also was a personal trainer, but I had also been working as an EMT. And so the natural progression is either paramedic or nursing. And so paramedic, it was great. I loved working on the truck and I think I would have enjoyed it, but you max out as far as pay wise. And then also not just pay, but like what's available to you past that. There's just way more in nursing. And so I just that's what pushed me towards nursing. I always felt bad, and I actually had a teacher make me feel bad once that I didn't have like this natural calling to be a nurse. And she was, because we had to go around the room and say why we were nurses. Right. And they were like, my mother was a nurse, or, I saw the nurses taking care of my grandparents, And, when I said, like, I want to take care of my family. Like I need to, and the instructor said, well, if money is your only motivation, you're not going to make it very far. And I can tell you that I've watched people who it's their passion and that they've wanted to burn out real quick. And being, providing for your family is a pretty good motivator, and it's gotten me through pretty well. But, also at the end of the day, you can look, but that was the other thing about like choosing a profession was like, can I look back at what I did and did I leave things better than I found it? Like I contributed to society. And so that's how I ended up in nursing.
Interesting.
I'm not a nurturer by nature. Like that's not a thing. Okay. So for any of your viewers or listeners, like you don't have to be that person.
You don't have to be that.
You don't have to be that person. Most of the people in the emergency room weren't. You're like right. Those personality quizzes.
Yes.
Like the colors.
Yes.
We were all, I think, green.
Okay.
And I think that was like, and I could be wrong on this, but it was the one that was like, like it needs to be logical and it needs to,
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And What's funny is our respiratory therapists were all blues, which was what you would think
interesting
a nurse would be, like nurturing and like that person. So anyway, it takes all kinds.
It does take all kinds. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because, just thinking back in nursing school where, of course, get people go around one by one. Can you tell us the reason you got into nursing and tell your story? And mine was literally like, I thought I was on track to be a physical therapist. Like that was my first major. It was not nursing. And at the time I lived with my grandparents. And I have a grandfather that's a retired sergeant major in the Army. And he was also a retired RN at the time. And then I lived with my grandmother, who was a retired LPN at the time. And so just the two of them kept talking like, are you sure you don't want to go into nursing? Are you sure you want to go into nursing? Because I was like, well, I want to do something that helps people. Right. And then I think the changing moment for me, literally, my grandfather brought like an old pay stub, and he was like, "You can make this right here."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, that's not so bad."
Okay, hold up.
And then so I changed my major not too long after that, and then I just pretty much stuck with it. I never thought I'd be in a situation I am right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure you didn't think like, I'll be a coordinator.
I'm going to be an LPN coordinator.
Yeah.
But what's even funnier is, so I came here in high school, whenever you're a sophomore, you come here and at the time they did the little test. Because I remember drawing lines. I don't remember what the test was or what it meant. But anyway, they gave the printout of what it was, and the very top was nurse. And my response was, ew, no.
Right.
Like, because you think when you're a kid, we think what a nurse is.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, ew, cleaning people. And I think, working as an EMT and seeing the ER nurses do what the ER nurses do, oh, okay, well, it's not too terrible. I think I might be able to do that.
Yes.
But anyway.
Yeah.
There was a point where I thought, what, these people are really smart. I don't know if I could really do that. Like, they are crazy
You are
smart.
Right about that.
Like,
yes,
it was intimidating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Clinicals, my first clinical experience with emergency room nurses really opened up my eyes. I'm like, am I prepared for this?
Right.
Am I sure I want to do this?
Yeah.
But so I definitely feel you there. So what advice would you give to people who are considering nursing? Maybe somebody's thinking on the fence. They're like, should I do nursing? Should I turn my application in? Like, what would you say to those individuals?
All I know is my experience,
right.
and given the parameters I had on the profession, it fit all the things. Like, it's provided well for my family. Things did hit the fan, and it's still needed and needed even more.
Yes.
You can actually make even more money now.
Yes.
There are loads of opportunities. Like I said, like Bedside, I really knew from the beginning I wasn't necessarily going to be Bedside the whole time, but I had to put my time in, and I needed to learn as much as I could. And plus, you don't know. You have no idea how things are going to work, and don't think you do know how things are going to work. And so like it met those things, and I was able to progress. But I will say, whenever even younger, because there were a whole lot of other options before I got to EMT and personal trainer, there was a whole long list of things that I wanted to do. And at one point it was firefighter. And my uncle, who's a firefighter, said, okay, get your EMT. And he said, worst case scenario, you've got these really awesome skills that can serve you in life anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, it's worth it, if you're on the fence and you're thinking about it, go get a job in a hospital or in a nursing home, even like custodians, like whatever, like
That's
just get in the building and see it, because you won't know really what the day-to-day life of it is until you're in it.
Right.
If you think, oh, the ER would be super cool. Hey, there's entry-level jobs that can get you in the emergency room. So yeah.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
Interesting. I guess to kind of piggyback on that, I would definitely say that volunteer work is very important.
Oh yeah.
Shadow work is very important. If you are on the fence, you're not sure, maybe you've seen some stuff Grey's Anatomy maybe, and you're not
Right.
and you're not exactly sure, I would definitely call a local facility and ask if they do any type of shadow work whatsoever.
Absolutely.
You know, see what they do. You know, get your feet wet, get your name out there, and you never know where it could lead.
Right.
So I would definitely say do some shadow work for sure. For sure. I do want to talk about the direction of healthcare. Okay. I feel like this is something like, you know, not necessarily new to a lot of people, but it's something that still needs to be talked about. You know, nurse burnout, nursing burnout. You know, a lot of nurses burn out within the first 3 to 5 years, and they burn out pretty quickly. Why do you think burnout for nurses is such a big deal? Like, why is that a thing right now?
Hey you, yes you, you've made it this far, so go ahead and give a like or a follow. I appreciate it.
Because people's lives are literally in your hands, and it's heavy. And it's a heavy load to carry. And, you know, you think about if you were to carry around, you know, a boulder, right? It's going to wear you out faster. And unless you know how to carry that efficiently and effectively and how to share that load. And how to manage that. It's just so much to carry on, and you can. And knowing who you are and how you process, and, you know, maybe your you know, empathy is great, but empaths take on a lot.
They do.
And if you don't know how to process that, like observe, not absorb, it can get hard, and it just takes too much. It's not what humans are built to do. It's not natural for us to carry that much in this way the system is set up. Whenever you're working shorthanded and you've got too many people, and and you're just constantly drowning, we're not meant to constantly drown. And it's just too much on our systems and our mental health to be able to think that we can function that way. I think that's why in the ER, whether it's good or bad, we learn to disassociate so much, just because you would drown even faster.
Oh, yes.
And I would imagine it would be the same in like hospice and things like that, where it's just so intense that we disassociate, and, you know, dark humor, or, you know, maybe we don't come across as nurturing, or, you know, as others might.
Don't say.
Because we have to, like, okay, what's the next job? How do we know? But some of it is just to survive. So
I agree. What's some ways that people can avoid burnout?
I mean, I really just speak from personal experience, but, you know, I was fortunate to have my spouse he's a firefighter paramedic. And so he gets it. And so you can talk about those things, and, like, especially in the ER and in EMS, I can tell him those stories, and it's not going to freak him out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So not that your spouse has to, you know, but having somebody in your life that you can tell those stories to, that you can offload that they're not going to, you know, crumble under the pressure of it or think that you're crazy. Having that, so a support system. And we see the same for nursing students too.
Completely agree with that. Definitely having some type of support system definitely helps, because a lot of times, I mean, this is my personal, you know, I guess experience. A lot of nurses that go through those hard times together, they typically group themselves up together. You know, they hang out outside of work. Like it just
together. It's a bond.
And so you hang out together. You have your group that you may vent to get the stuff off your chest, or you may have a group that you may debrief with, which that is so important, and that helps as well. I would also say to people as well, if a particular specialty is wearing you down, switch. Before you just completely get out of nursing. I want people to know, if you are a person that's on the edge, like, I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore, you are valued.
Absolutely.
You are truly valued.
You may not feel like it.
Yes, you are loved and you are valued. And also, you may be better suited in another specialty. Okay. So you did emergency room, maybe med surg is your thing. If not, maybe ICU or maybe a clinic setting or, there's so many different avenues of nursing now.
Plus you put so much time in.
Yes.
That would be the hard part for me.
Yes.
Is like you put so much time and effort into that license that you have. Like don't let it all go to nothing. And there's so many skills that can be applied to so many different things. And like you said, like there's a need.
There's a need.
So yeah, that's great. That's a great point.
There's definitely a need, and because I know some nurses that they've been in emergency room 4 or 5 years, whatever, and they're like, well, that's all I know.
Right. Yeah. There's a comfort level. There is a comfort level. Yeah.
I'm like, that may be all you know, but have you tried something else? I'm sure you have too. Over the years, have had hard conversations with coworkers that may be like, I don't know if nursing's for me anymore. I don't know, like the grind is too much or whatever. And I've tried to tell them over the years, like, you do not have to stay in this specialty. Right. We understand, like, you're not a coward if you decide to go somewhere else. We won't think any less of you because we understand, like, how dire nursing is right now. Yeah. It feels like, I don't know if you feel this way, but nursing feels like it's getting more advanced, like, in terms of, disease processes, technology, treatments, of course, insurance is its own thing. And, but, in terms of the bodies, it's not meeting, we're not meeting that as well. I don't know if you feel that way. But,
yeah, absolutely. It's the responsibilities you're expected to take on. It just keeps going up and up and up in each level. LPNs are doing things that LPNs didn't do before. Right. So yeah, it constantly is advancing, but we don't have the support to actually to do that, to feel safe. Yeah. Taking on that level of responsibility. Right. One thing that I've always advised students is that, like, the ICU and the ER can be intimidating, but it's the perfect place to start. True. Because nobody expects much of you because you're a student. Like, I mean, because you're a new grad. Yes. And so it's okay for you to not know things. And so you go into those and you learn so much. And you've been in really intense situations. So, okay, it's time to change. Everything else doesn't feel quite as intense. I say everything. OB, I can't even speak to that. I'm not even going to try. Like, that's a whole nother animal. I agree there. You know what I mean? Yes, you know what I mean? Yes. Like here, now. Like, yeah, okay, things are bad, but did anybody die today? Yes. Under my watch as LPN coordinator? No. So just kind of as perspective, sometimes for some students, that might be hesitant, it's kind of intimidating. Just start there. Because everything after that, it just makes it easier. Yes. Yes. And I completely agree with that, because the direction of healthcare in terms of where it's going, I think students, this is my own perception, they're gaining more knowledge. They are, I feel like they're going to be great, but I also feel like, as the generations start to change, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, that personal one-on-one care, like, there's starting to become more of a gap, and it's because we're becoming more of a technological society. And so how do we kind of bridge that gap of, that bedside manner, and, how do we get back to being personal with our patients, pretty much? They're not a phone, they're not a tablet. Right. For our students, sometimes we just have to push them. Like I'm sorry, you're going to have to talk to this person. And like, they're not comfortable. And yes, like, you can definitely see the disconnect. But, we say that, but I truly feel like the pendulum's going to come back. Because I look at my kid, my youngest, she could talk to that wall. Like, she can talk to anybody. She can make a conversation with anybody, and her friends, like, and how they interact. Yeah, there's a lot here. Yes. I think the empathy part of it might be something too, that seeing things from other people's shoes, and being able to understand other people's perspectives and not judging too quickly. I think those are lessons that we constantly have to try to help them with. But as far as, like, bridging that gap to get people to interact a little bit better, I do see nurses sometimes like get lost in the computer, like as we're typing, okay, I'm going to take this assessment. So we try to push, as students, they don't really get to do that because they're not in the system. And so they have to stand there and they have to talk to them. That is definitely something that we try to instill in them. And we have whole, like, our curriculum, one of the curriculum pieces that we use has whole units specifically dedicated to civility. Okay. Like that's the point that we're at. Like it has their own unit to be able to how to speak to people, how to deal with, disagreements and things like that amongst their peers in school, and then during clinical, and then whenever they graduate. So like they're getting it. Like it's built into textbooks and built into curriculum now. So we have the pieces there. It's just really holding them accountable to it and not letting them squirm out of it.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And you're just going to have better patient outcomes.
Right. Well, Amanda, I would love to keep you more. We're gonna
Part two.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stop it here. But if somebody had questions about the LPN program or just stuff like that, who can they reach out to?
So the best way to start would be sotech.edu.
Okay.
And you can Google LPN Program Southern Tech, and that will take you actually straight to our site. And we have a whole information packet. We have that website's got lots of resources. And then if you're like, you know what, I just want to talk to somebody, that's where you're going to find the phone number too.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Amanda, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
All right, family. This is your Wakanda RN with Miss Amanda Shatwell. I appreciate you guys being here. I love you guys, and we're out.